It's 11 o'clock, so we're going to start. If everybody could just mute themselves so they don't have any feedback, and then we're going to be taking questions, of course, and the chat is up and operational, and Kate is going to be monitoring that and fielding some questions. Good morning, I'm Lori Pepinella. I'm CEO of the Southern Ocean County Chamber, and thank you for joining us. I know we had a reschedule from last week when we had the hurricane tropical storm come through and some power outages, but we were able to get Sheryl and get everyone hopefully to take part in what we're going to be talking about this morning, which is really interesting because the portal now is open for loan forgiveness, which opened Monday, but there's also some new programs that Sheryl's going to be talking about. So I'm going to introduce Sheryl. She's a lead lender and economic specialist for the U.S. Small Business Administration. She works out of the New Jersey district, and she also is a local Long Beach Island region resident. So she's quite familiar with what our business complexity is, and the seasonal aspect of it, the small business aspect of it. So she's going to be here to again help answer some forgiveness questions, work through the process so that you're aware of what your lenders are going to do when you put in your final paperwork. So thank you again for joining us this morning. Again, just feel free to chat as needed, especially if you want to direct questions to Sheryl. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Sheryl Paynter. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. It's always great to present to the chamber. I love that it's a regional chamber and that there's so many people that are involved. And this presentation will be emailed to everybody afterwards. I did already get the presentation to Kate, so she will get that out just as soon as she can. So what we are going to talk about today is the PPP loan forgiveness, as well as the other two SBA programs. So I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen. There we go. My application, oh, here it is. Share. Can you see that, Kate or Lori?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. So I just want to start with the high-level overview of the COVID CARES Act programs that are available through the SBA. Carl, which I'm going to touch on, and that has just recently been launched, as well as EIDL and PPP, which I think by now most people know the acronyms of, but if you don't, it's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan or the Payment Protection Program. So this information is current as of July 30th. I always update my presentations because, as we know, Congress continues to pass different rules and regulations. One question I do get quite frequently is what is about to get passed, and I can't speculate. I actually don't really see anything that is about to get passed, but once anything does get passed, if it pertains to anything regarding financial, you will find it at treasury.gov or the SBA.gov if it involves the SBA. I do want to mention the Main Street Lending Program that has nothing to do with the SBA, and that is a very large type business lending program. And if you are a larger business and think you may qualify for that program, you can always Google and get on the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Their website has the specifics on that program, as well as lenders who have signed up to participate and execute that program. The other programs that I'm about to discuss, I want to just make a plug for the SBA.gov/NJ website. So our official resource partners, which are the Small Business Development Center, or SCORE, or the Women's Business Centers, of which there are 2 in New Jersey, one in Chatham and the other in Camden. There's 8 SCORE chapters, and there's 12 Small Business Development Centers, and they are all by county of coverage. So some do a few counties. In this area, we have SBDC Stockton. The closest other ones would be SBDC Brookdale out of Brookdale Community College, or SBDC Camden. And all of these resource partners are giving webinars that can help you and your business be more successful. So one thing that we've done is, if you go into sba.gov/NJ, there is on the bottom right our calendar. And in that calendar, you can see all the different webinars that are going on throughout the state that could help your small business. Most are free. Your taxpayer dollars at work, so it doesn't mean that it's not valuable just because it's free. It's actually already been paid for. And if there is a cost, it is very low fee, and it is intended to pay for the particular instructor that they needed to get to be an expert. And the resource guide is also on that website. So the first, the program I wanted to touch upon, Carl, is it's a pilot program, and it is businesses in underserved markets. Some people may be familiar with the SBA Community Advantage Program, and this is a program that is given out by economic development organizations in a particular territory. The Community Advantage lenders that are actively lending in New Jersey are currently UCEDC and RBAC. And what they do is they are targeting underserved markets to assist them with obtaining loans. They also give free technical, business counseling assistance. And an underserved market is if you are located in a particular geographic area that is defined as either a hub zone or an opportunity zone. If you are an individual from a targeted underserved group, women, minorities, etc., or if you are an economically disadvantaged person, and there's formulas that calculate, how you would be considered economically disadvantaged. And I'll give you the contact information in one of these slides. So if you think you may qualify and are interested in one of these loans, you can follow up. But the terms of the loans are pretty straightforward. It's a 5-year, and the reason it's a minimum of 5-year is so that your monthly payment is lower and it gives you a better chance to succeed. And the maturity must match the use of proceeds. So you can't have a loan that is shorter than your intended time frame. It really has to match your use of proceeds on a weighted average basis. The loan disbursement, it's a pretty tight time frame because it has to do with this fiscal year. It has to be fully dispersed before October 1st, 2020, when the new federal fiscal year begins. The technical assistance, the lenders, which I'll give you in a subsequent slide, they have to give you at least 15 hours of technical assistance. and that is, again, to help you succeed. Let's see. There we go. We talked about the 15. And there are 3 Carl lenders in the state of New Jersey. I've mentioned UCEDC and RBAC. There's also Pursuit Lending. They've just changed their name, but they have been around for a long time. They used to be called the 504 Company or New Jersey Business Finance Corps. So if you're familiar with any of those other names, this is their new rebranding. I did reach out to the 3 of them individually, and this is the contact information that they provided me to give. So little plug for that. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, this is done through the SBA Disaster Center. I work for the field, so my specialty and where I can really provide assistance is the PPP. Some people call me and I have to refer them to the customer service number for the SBA disaster, because again, I have nothing to do with the disaster loans, but because it is part of the SBA, I just want to reiterate an overview of what it is. And again, this will be sent out to you, so it's just a good reference that you'll see when you receive the materials. And here is the customer service email, as well as the customer service phone number. So the EIDL Advance, that is actually not occurring anymore because they ran at Congress. What was appropriated has fully been exhausted. But if you did apply and receive EIDL Advance funds, it's finally been clarified. And if you want to look up the actual guidance and go to treasury.gov under small business help for the coronavirus, you'll see where it talks about frequently asked questions. And the EIDL Advance will be deducted from your PPP forgiveness. There was a bit of uncertainty up until Monday when the actual official guidance finally came out, because it was unclear that if you use the EIDL Advance for something other than payroll or for payroll in a different period, does that matter? But the official guidance is that it does not matter, and it's because it's considered double dipping under the same federal CARES Act. So what'll happen is a lender, when you submit your forgiveness application and they go on the platform to submit it, then what will happen is they will pull up your information and it'll pop up how much of the EIDL Advance you did receive, and then that will be deducted, technically from the amount of forgiveness. I just wanted to talk about timing about PPP forgiveness. A lender has 90 days from when you submit your PPP forgiveness application to submit it to the SBA. But rest assured, because I work with these lenders every day, now that the forgiveness platform launched on August the 10th, they are furiously trying to apply to the SBA. Like, they don't want it on their books any longer than it has to be, just from a technical, cleaning up the books perspective. The SBA does have 3 months to get back to the lender once submitted, but again, the SBA is eager to also process and just make everything clean, especially as the SBA's OIG, which stands for the Office of Inspector General, is chasing down all of the fraud that has been occurring in both PPP and EIDL. And I'm sure it's hit the presses that everyone's been reading about. Speaking about fraud, if anybody does suspect fraud for either EIDL or PPP fraud, it really would be great, you know, as a citizen to help out and help detect, you know, because these are taxpayer dollars that the fraud is being used, you know, for. So if you do suspect it, you can call the hotline, you can email, and actually there is a complaint submission form, and you can check the box to submit anonymously as well if you don't feel comfortable about identifying yourself. So if you do suspect fraud out there, I really encourage you to help the SBA detect it. So the Paycheck Protection Program that ended on August 8th, it paid up to 24 weeks. And as you may recall, there were new guidance that came out that extended the weeks from 8 to 24. So I'm just highlighting that. The funds may also be used for interest, rent, or utilities. And this is all of the business nature.
Sheryl, you muted yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me now? Great. I think that was Steve. Yes? Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Really appreciate that. Okay, so it just threw me out, so hold on. I'm still sharing. Okay. And can everyone see slide 17 that I'm on, ending August 8th?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so just recapping the maximum loan size, and this is really meant for reference. I was starting to say that one question I get a lot from people is, I'm a home-based business, and can I deduct my interest on my mortgage? And my answer to anyone who asks me is, what did you report in 2019 regarding business expenses? If you carved out part of your interest on your mortgage in your tax return, then you could do that. What about rent or utilities? The same thing. You have to be consistent about what you reported as a business expense in 2019 and as what you are reporting your PPP loan to be used for. The PPP Protection Program is a business loan program. So if you just put your business hat on and just think it has to always be business related and it has to be what was reported last year. Okay, so I just mentioned in a previous slide that the key changes that occurred recently was the extension from 8 weeks.
You're muted again, Sheryl.
Weird, I don't know why it keeps doing that.
And it also unshared your slide, so we're not seeing a slide now, we're just seeing you.
Okay, I'm going to do that. Kate, can you unmute me when I get muted, or do I have to do that? Or Lori?
No, I can do it. I'm not sure why you're fading it, why it's doing that, but I am monitoring it. So as soon as I see it, I will keep an eye on that. I've been unmuting you as it happens. So.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, yeah, I'm on a telephone instead of my internet because I was hoping that wouldn't occur. But what are you going to do?
So we will need you to share your screen now. Although yeah, I'm going to make Steve a co-host too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Oh, good. So we got back on the screen.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So again, it lowered the 75% to 60, and it provided safe harbor options for reductions in forgiveness due to reductions in payroll, meaning that you don't have to have a reduction in payroll for two main instances. And I'll get to that. Let's see. For loans that were approved after June 5th, it increased to 5 years. And loans that were approved before June 5th originally were 2 years that they were due after maturity. The borrower would have to negotiate with the lender to move it from 2 to anywhere up to the 5 years. And the reason it has to be more of a negotiation was that the original loan was done with certain terms and conditions. So the SBA can't just go in and tell a lender that you have to change your loan from 2 to 5. It has to be more of a negotiation because that's how the loan docs close. And it extends the deferral period, that the deferral period ends 10 months after the end of the borrower's loan forgiveness period. So that's really when interest continues to accrue, but the first payment is not due on whatever has not been forgiven 10 months after that borrower's loan forgiveness period. And then lastly, it removed the restriction of participating in the deferment of Social Security payroll tax. You can defer now through December 31st, and then you can pay the balance of 50% of that payroll tax for Social Security over the next 2 years. All right, so here's the eligible use of proceeds. We talked about most of this. Let's see. I just want to also highlight that you can utilize it to refinance an economic injury disaster loan. Although quite honestly, your injury disaster loan, if you know you're going to get forgiven for the whole thing, then of course you should refinance it. But overall, the interest rate on an economic injury disaster loan is typically, depending on where you are on the spectrum, check the interest rate because it might just be lower than the PPP. So you really want to check. Okay. Here we go. Expenses. So what expenses are included in
Cheryl?
payroll costs?
Cheryl?
Yep.
Are you moving
Yeah.
your slides?
Yes, can you see?
Okay, we're still on the, I've had some questions regarding the, I guess we're still on the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yes, what you refer
yeah,
to
we
as
can-
slide 17.
Correct. Okay.
I'm now on 21, but I can
The
go back to
slides are not
17.
moving. Yeah, we're still on 17.
Interesting.
So
You know what I'm wondering is I sent you guys the slide. Can somebody pull up and I can stop sharing? Because clearly we're having an issue.
all right, I can drop it in the chat. You keep talking. If you just want to, it looks like your program has stopped. So if you want to fire up your program, but I can, I'll drop the slides in. Let me see.
Wow, that's fancy. Okay, I'm sharing now and I'm on slide 20. Can people see it?
No, it's on 17.
Still on
still.
17.
Wow. All right. Well, that's frustrating. Are you dropping in whatever you're dropping in?
I'm going to, I just need to download it. So
okay.
I will add that. I'll put that in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, because it's showing me sharing.
Okay.
How about now? Oh, here's 17. Now it should work. Is it
Yeah,
working?
that's
All right.
right. Okay,
All right,
great.
we'll
That should work.
Yes.
Is it working?
Yeah,
Yes.
now it is. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So there was like something that popped up and I said resume sharing. So since we stopped at 17, I just want people to see on slide, was there a question on 17, by the way? Okay. So slide 18 really just highlighted that the main changes that occurred with Congress. I am going to talk about the 2 safe harbor options for reducing forgiveness due to reductions in payroll. And what that means is that you would not have a reduction in your loan forgiveness in 2 different circumstances. And it's called safe harbor. I found the word safe harbor kind of confusing, but that is what that's going to mean. And I will mention the 2 reasons shortly. And I was just highlighting that there's 2. Increasing, I did talk about if you were approved before June 5th. Let's see, and I talked about the payroll tax. So slide 20, the only thing I really wanted to highlight that I did not speak about was about the economic injury disaster loan, which I just mentioned in a little bit more detail. So I think we're all on the same page now on being on slide 21. Just a recap of everything I've mentioned. There's no prepayment penalty. And here's expenses. And this is really intended for your reference afterward. I do get questions about health insurance, but you can include your employer contributions for your employee health insurance. And then you can also include your state and local taxes that are assessed on your compensation. And for a sole proprietor or independent contractor, it's limited to the first $100,000 on an annualized basis of that sole proprietor or independent contractor's salary. Let's see, what is not included in payroll? A question any compensation of an employee whose principal place of residence is outside of the United States. It's really intended to assist people who live and reside here in the United States. And then the payment to independent contractors, there is, and the reason being is because they can apply for PPP themselves. So as a result, they do not qualify because that would be double dipping. Let's see, qualified sick leave wages or qualified family leave wages for which a credit is allowed. I wanted to highlight, I've gotten a couple of questions there. Let's see. And we are, I do want to refer you to both treasury.gov and SBA.gov for any other official clarifications, but of course you can always email me and I can send you back specific guidance if there's something that you really want the specific verbiage about. So what happens, I've talked about the business owner, they give the forgiveness application to their lender. I mentioned the time frame already. And then interest does accrue during the deferment period. Let's see, you may submit a loan forgiveness application anytime after the loan proceeds have been used up, on or before the maturity date. Some people were a little unclear, and I've gotten the question a lot. It doesn't have to be at the end of the covered period. So if you're using a 24-week covered period and you run out of the payroll protection money amount by the 18th week, for example, you could apply during that 18th week for forgiveness. You don't have to wait. And we encourage you not to wait because it would be a nightmare if everybody had to apply at the same time. So there is a simplified EZ application. And it's only 3 pages, although the other application is 5 pages, so it's not crazy onerous. But you can use the simplified application under 3 different circumstances. 1, if you're self-employed with no employees and you didn't get any PPP funds for employee salaries, that's a pretty clean use of proceeds. And you just would have to show the payroll that you paid to yourself. Or if you're a business owner with employees that did not reduce the annual salary or hourly wages of an employee, and this is done by an employee basis, by more than 25% during that covered period, compared to a January 1st to March 31st period. So it's a year. It's a comparison. And you also didn't reduce the number of employees or average paid hours between January and the end of the covered period after the exemptions. And the 2 exemptions are what I'm going to mention in a minute. Or the third is that you're a business owner with employees that did not reduce, any more than 25% of their annual salary or hourly wages. And if you were unable to operate during the covered period. So, this is intended to assist people, even if a business is not able to be open. Their employees are able to get paid. But if you do not qualify, it's not that you do not get loan forgiveness. It's that you need to revert to the 5-page loan forgiveness application. There we go. So the 2 reasons that I've kind of been mentioning all along is a business owner is exempt from the reduction in loan forgiveness based on full-time employees if both of the following conditions are met. The business owner reduced their FTE employee levels in the period beginning February 1st and ending April 26th, but they restored their FTE employee levels not later than December 31st, 2020 to their FTE employee levels in the borrower's pay period that included February 15th. I've gotten questions about how do you calculate an FTE, especially seasonal businesses. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can count it just person by person, or you can count it as a fraction of, the hours they work. So if you have an individual who, let's say you have all part-time employees, and you have an employee that works 30 hours a week, then that is a 0.75 employees, because they work 3/4 of a 40-hour work week. So I know just my husband has a business, and I know it's easier to calculate using that methodology of FTE, because most of the employees are part-time, especially for these seasonal businesses. And then the safe harbor option 2, that the business owner is exempt of the reduction, and you have to show paperwork that is proving that you apply for the safe harbor option 1 or this safe harbor option 2. But if the business owner in good faith can document they were unable to operate their business, I'm thinking of gyms that we know cannot operate, and that's due to compliance with federal, state, or local requirements. They would have to, just put with their paperwork, the regulatory, thing that came out, making them not able to work. I'm sorry, be open. So here's the FTE reduction exception. This is what we were talking about. If you're unable to rehire individuals, you have to have made a good faith written offer to rehire employees, and it has to be written. And you also have to report, these people to the state that you did not, they did not want to come back. So, this is important because there have been a lot of people in the system that were getting more from unemployment than they were making normally. So they refused to come back to work. And the obligation for that employer is to have given a written offer. And you can prove that by certified mail, that kind of stuff. But, that would be a reason that you did not, you were exempt from this reduction as well. Frequently asked questions that I receive. You can reduce up to 25%, and it's on an employee basis, not in the aggregate. I want to highlight that. How should business owners seeking loan forgiveness account for the salary wage reduction based on a reduction in the number of employees? And it applies only to the portion of the decline that is not attributable to the FTE reduction. Okay. Will a borrower's loan forgiveness amount be reduced if an employee is fired for cause, voluntarily resigns, or voluntarily requests a schedule reduction? No. Providing that the records are maintained. So you just need to really, write and explain that this person left. Maybe they left to go back to school or, whatever. Can I make advance payments or prepay expenses that I expect to be incurring? No. You cannot make prepayments. It has to be for the covered period. What if my billing payroll dates fall out just outside? So this is really for people that have, for example, bi-weekly pay periods. Your covered period can change by just a couple days. For example, let's say you were approved on a Friday for your PPP loan, but the following Tuesday is when your new pay period begins. So you actually can start your covered period on that Tuesday versus that Friday, because that's when your payroll, takes effect. What if my rent, utility, or mortgage payments are normally due just outside of the 8 or 24-week period? There are allowances for flexibility on this. Non-payroll costs can be incurred. So you have to quantify that it was for the covered period, even though the billing happened outside the period. Again, just keeping in mind it is intended for the covered period. Are salary, wages, and commission payments to furloughed employees, bonuses, or hazard pay during the covered period eligible for loan forgiveness? Yes, as long as they do not exceed an annual salary of $100,000. What if I cannot run my business right now? PPP funds are expected to be used regardless of a borrower's ability to have their business open. And it is because it is really intended to help protect workers. Can I rehire new staff using PPP funds? Yes. It is allocated on an employee basis, but not on a specific employee basis. Okay, that's actually the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing, but all of this contact information will be sent out with the presentation. So I can take questions if there are any questions.
Sheryl, there were some questions that popped up in the chat. If you want, I can
Okay.
read them if that's what you'd like. Let's see here. Bob Sattler had commented, questioned that if a company receives an EIDL advance but no PPP loan, is the advance tax-free?
So the EIDL advance, I mean, that's a very good question. I've been looking for, so there's been some IRS guidance out there, but there has not, I haven't seen yet that verbiage. So I would check the IRS website for updated guidance on that. So I don't know.
Okay. And then Elizabeth Gala had asked, questioning, does that mean you pay back the EIDL and only the remaining portion then of the PPP could potentially be forgiven?
So what it'll mean is you'll actually pay, so the EIDL loan is a whole different thing. You can have EIDL loan and PPP loans together, but the EIDL advance, you actually will be paying your lender the amount of the EIDL advance. That is not going to be, because that will have turned into a loan. So your lender will take that money to reduce your loan. If that makes sense.
And then I had one more question regarding Frank, and then I guess you can open it up. Frank Minetti had asked if you can confirm that state payroll taxes paid by the borrower and not withheld from wages are not included in payroll costs.
Yes, I can confirm that. And Frank, you can email me and I can get you that guidance.
And those are the questions I had in the lecture, and I think Steve has some questions. So
I do.
Okay.
This has to do, first of all, with FTE. I was under the impression that it was like January 1st to February 16th, you were supposed to calculate FTE. And then I heard something today that said it just has to do with the pay period that ended on the 15th of February. So for instance, my average FTE over that 6-week period is 12.8, but that particular week was 20.59.
So there's guidance on FTE as it relates to seasonal businesses. So I'd be happy to actually send that, because this question is going to come up a lot on the Jersey Shore, is I will give Kate the guidance to define, because seasonal businesses are different. So you're really doing it year over year for a seasonal business. But I'll get that guidance to you.
I was under the impression that you could do it either way, and frankly, I think it's more advantageous for us to do it with the 6-week period rather than year over year, because when I go forward, in May I was like 2.13, 1.38, but coming up finally in the middle of June, it started being 13.38 and then 17 and then 26, and now I'm at like 35, and I have, without using rent or anything else, completely expended my PPP loan just with wages and not even benefits, wages and taxes.
Good, then you're actually pretty clean for the other thing you could do, Steve, is just count it by person. You know, you don't have to go into the math of point whatevers by what you're doing. Also, it sounds like the EZ application is a lot easier for you to use.
It might be. The question is, some of the highest paid employees did not return, and so I've got more employees, and we've expended the amount of money, but some of the higher paid employees did not return.
That's fine. That's fine.
As long as I have the numbers, it doesn't matter that the average pay per person is lower.
Exactly. So it was more intended for the same employee having their wages reduced versus a new employee having a different wage.
Great, that's very helpful. Now I just have to wait for Wells Fargo to put their thing on, because they won't let me fill out the application until they do it with, they're going to have their application online for loan forgiveness, and we have to use their form since that's where I got my PPP loan.
Well, so they're going to have to create their form to comply with our form. So if you know, like I know for me, I just wanted to have it done in my mind so that when it opens, I'm done. So what you can do is just go to the treasury.gov website, click on small businesses, scroll down and click on that easy application, or the other one if people want to use the other one, and I have it already all filled out. It's done. And then, you know, as soon as I am ready to submit, I'm submitting it. But I think that would give you comfort by just filling it out yourself.
Easy enough. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll get to that this weekend then, probably.
Okay. Yeah. It gave me a lot of just like, oh, this is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It really was. Like, I had a lot of anxiety about it myself, but it helped me.
Do you suggest adding in much more? Like, for instance, I don't have to add in rent to be able to show that I expended it all. But if I do add in rent, then I'm way over the heck. I just want to make sure something's not disallowed.
No. So when you see the application, you'll see it's very straightforward. And also, if there is anything that does strangely get rejected in some way, you will have the ability to appeal. Okay. Anyone else?
Sheryl, the final decision in terms of forgiveness, that's with the SBA and not with the lender. Is that correct?
Well, the lender is the gatekeeper. So if the lender, you know, hopefully they'll give you the feedback that they are missing some paperwork, and then they submit to the SBA, and then the SBA blesses or kicks back, you know, whatever they are giving. So it is the lender's the first, you know, hopefully you have a good communication with your lender. If you're really nervous, you know, just completely overkill it with, you know, what to get it forgiven. But it is pretty straightforward. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Again, you will have the ability to appeal. So it's not ironclad that you send it and like something gets kicked back or something if you're right on the edge, because you can, you know, show more expenses that you didn't previously given. This is worst case scenario. And the smaller businesses, you know, they are putting the scrutiny on the bigger businesses as well. That's where a lot more of the fraud is occurring. Anyone else?
Oh, I just received a question sent to me. It says they have an employee that left on March 26th on early maternity leave. How would she be counted?
Well, if she's not working, I mean, if she's getting, you know, you have to look at the guidance. Like if she's still getting paid, then, you know, she would count as an employee. But if she left voluntarily, you know, and she's not getting sick leave or any of that kind of stuff, that would fall under voluntarily leaving. So, you know, my question is going to be, you know, how is that person getting paid? You know, we did say that sick leave does get included. So if the person's still getting a paycheck, then they're still actually employed. But if they voluntarily resigned in some way, then that's fine. You know, you just have to indicate that that person left.
The short-term disability payments count?
Do short-term disability payments count? I am not sure, actually. That's a very good question. I could do a follow-up on that, but I honestly don't know. Anyone else?
Yeah, just a moment.
Cheryl,
Yeah.
is there a special form for seasonal employers?
No.
There's not.
So the PPP forgiveness form is, you've already calculated on your, there's instruction sheets on how to fill out these forms. And it will, but they're the same forms. You either do the EZ form or you do the regular form. And the difference is simply covered period on how it's defined, based on your seasonal business or based on, your, income from the year before. But it is the same form. And once you click the forms, you know what I'm going to do also is I'm going to send the forms to Kate afterwards. So you can send them out, Kate, or send the link.
I can do
Sound
that.
good? Okay. I think that would be helpful for people. Again, I've actually done the EC form for my husband's business, who has a seasonal business, and it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I'm very comfortable after doing it, and it wasn't a lot of magic that I had to create at all. It was very nice. I just went into, our payroll. I printed out the payroll. I just, added up the pay. It was so easy. It's really easy. I was very pleased, especially because we know it's a government, not to bash the government, but sometimes there's a little bit of a complexity, but it really was a very nice, easy form.
Now, you gave a website, treasury.gov. And what's the
Yep.
next step? What's the next
So
step?
once you get to, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that link to Kate, but the next step from treasury.gov is on the left-hand side, it'll say help for small businesses.
Okay.
And once you click on that, all the information will come up.
Okay. Very good.
But think how
But I'll-
easy
but I'll
it'll be if we
also-
just have a link.
Yeah, I'll do the link. Yeah.
Would you
that's
do
fine.
link for both forms, both easy and regular?
Absolutely. Happy
Thank you.
to. And I'm also going to put a link for frequently asked questions because I think that would be helpful too. Okay. Anyone else?
I don't see. I think we're good in the chat, right?
I think so.
Yep. Great.
Okay. Well,
Did you have more questions?
I want to,
What they're asking?
Cheryl?
Yes?
If you didn't start business until May 15th, and so you had no prior period payroll, so how, what do you do that?
Then I don't believe it would be eligible for PPP in the first place.
Well, they approved the loan.
Why don't we talk offline about that? Because I'm not really sure how that was done. So contact me afterwards.
How do we contact you?
Cheryl, do you want me to connect it for you? They can,
You can give her, so my phone number is 973-645-3582, and we can chat offline about that.
Okay.
Excellent. That's perfect. Let me repeat that number, 973-645-3582.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just see. I saw just one more chat come through. Okay, so I think we've hit all the questions. Sheryl, we want to thank you for your time this morning, helping us navigate through yet another challenge for all of our local businesses. And we're so glad that we have a representative that take the time to talk to us as a business community and really answer questions that apply to us. So we thank you so much. For everyone else, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, I said sure.
Oh, okay, good. So for everything else, you know, we have a lot of information coming out. There's some things happening in September. We have a speakeasy with our board appearing here virtually at the end of the month. So we'd love to see everybody take part in that. We also have a lot of information on how to get involved in Chowder Month, as well as what we're going to be doing for the fall. So stay tuned and stay healthy. And we hope to see you all here at the end of the month when we have our speakeasy. So thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.